Okay, so let's start. So everyone, I thanks for joining this webinar. I have one of the exciting speaker, Andrea von Bloois-Romero. So I just wanted to give an introduction of her. So uh, we have like Andrea is a seasoned customer experience professional with a remarkable background rooted in a high set word of luxury hospitality and services design. What makes Andrea's perspective so unique is her ability to bridge the gap between high level theory and boots on the ground execution. She specializes in taking complex CX strategies and translation them into practical, tangible improvement that's not only smooth out the customer journey but directly drive business performance. Having worked across diverse international environments, she brings a global lens to how we can make this service in a competitive advantage. So, Andrea, we are so glad to have you here to help us shift our mindset from support to success. Welcome to the webinar.
Good afternoon from the Netherlands, and thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here and to share my experience with all of you. This is actually my first webinar, so I'm genuinely honored to be part of this conversation.
Thank you so much. So, uh, let's start with a couple of a question related to the evolution of customer service. So the first question normally, it's like, how has the role of customer service evolved over the last decade?
Well, 10 years ago, customer service was mainly reactive. What I mean is that when a customer had a problem, they contacted support and the company responded. Initially, support will wait for the customer, and today that is a completely different story. In today's environment, experiences are completely different. Customer expects company to already know the context, anticipate issues, and remove friction before it needs to be asked. At the same time, service has become much more connected to revenue, retention, and also brand perception. And it is no longer just a support function at the end of the journey, but this approach also influences growth directly.
That's great. That's great. Uh, yeah, you're right. So the next question is more about like, why do many companies still see a customer support as a cost center rather than a growth engine?
This is a great question. And the reason is that most organizations, they still measure through efficiency metrics. So like ticket volume or handling time or long holding time. We have heard the times when someone in customer support says, may I place you on a brief hold? So all of those different aspects are being measured. And what it really rarely happens is it measured when service works well? That is not measured. So then we have other metrics like retention, expansion, loyalty, conversion, or reduced churn. So if a company is only measuring cost, then service will always be expensive. But if, however, you measure impact, then the conversation changes completely. Companies tend to forget that teams in customer support or frontline employees are the only teams speaking directly with the guest or with the customer. And then you have a gold mine of information. Therefore, they see patterns way before, and then information should be treated more strategically rather than, okay, this is cost.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, the company tends to forget the teams is customer support for frontline employees are the only team members speaking directly to the customer. Yeah, good point. So Now, next question is more about like proactive versus reactive services. What exactly does proactive services means in practice?
Well, what proactive service means is solving friction before it happens and before it caused a problem in the customer experience. That can be operational or it can be behavioral. When it is operational, you can warn customers about, for example, delays before they ask or before it happens. And when it is behavioral, you can recognize hesitation or you can recognize confusion before this turns into a complaint. I find that the goal about proactive service is not just about being faster about service, but it is reducing customer effort
Yeah,
altogether.
got it. Yes, you are absolutely right. So, can you share example from hospitality where proactive service increase guest satisfaction?
And revenue, yes. In hospitality industry, proactive service often drives revenue indirectly rather than directly. For example, a guest that feels recognized and understood is much more likely to extend the stay or to return to the property for a different experience. So in a luxury hospitality, you don't only have rooms, but you also have the fine dining restaurants, or you have a spa. You have different areas in a hotel. So to return for a different experience, it's another indirectly way of creating more revenue. And this approach is I find it that it is more important when service went wrong. So proactive following up and making sure that the guest doesn't leave the property confused or frustrated is paramount to influence the likelihood of returning. In my experience, I find that it is all about reducing friction and it is more about creating more trust.
Got it, got it. So, proactive service definitely increase, guest satisfaction, and ultimately, it will going to increase the revenue. And specifically in the hospitality industry, I think this is the most needed things. So, my next question is like, how can organization anticipate customer needs before customer even ask?
Yeah, great question. The problem nowadays is no longer lack of data. Many companies now have many sets of data, but the problem is now to connect those points of data across different teams. And companies should look for repeated customer questions, delays, hesitation moments, repeated manual fixes. And these are often indicators of friction before a customer formally complains. Customer usually shows confusion before they show dissatisfaction. I think I said before, when you hear hesitation in the tone of voice, then that is your cue that something is really going wrong. And then you can ask, okay, I hear that there is something not clear. Can I clarify something? That is the proactivity, because you just had a
Mhm.
cue, you are proactive towards it. Another way of anticipating in a call center is when you already know that there will be delays in service. You can already say, today we are experiencing a high volume of calls.
Yeah,
Someone will bring the item to your room in the next, I'm making it up, 20 minutes. Then you are anticipating, you are managing those expectations.
yeah, you are right because in our industry as well, like if customer found a problem before he found the problem, it's good to intimate him that something going to happen after hour or in a day or something. So at least they they should know like what will be going to happening. So it will increase the close relationship with the customer. Yeah, yeah, and that's a good point. So next section is more about like technology and AI in proactive CX. So how are AI and automation enabling proactive customer engagement?
Well, AI is helping companies move from reactive support to predictive support. Instead of waiting for a customer to raise an issue, organizations can now detect patterns a lot earlier. However, the impact part is AI should reduce the friction, but not remove humanity. And the best
Mhm.
proactive experiences, they still feel personal and they still feel relevant instead of transactional and robotic.
Got it, got it. Yeah, AI will play important roles in this case. So, what role do conversational platform and AI assistants play in improving CX today?
Well, good conversational experiences, they reduce effort because customers can resolve issues faster and at any time. For example, when every time that I need to solve something and I want to contact the company, I will do it after I finish everything that I need to do. So
Right.
then a chatbot becomes such a perfect way to do it. I find it as a customer is great. But badly implemented automation creates even more friction. So, a question that I
Mhm.
believe a company should be asking is not where can I automate, but where does
Mhm.
the automation genuinely will improve that customer experience. I I personally am not really a fan of bots, and the reason is because they keep on looping on the same. So it only tells me that that automation process that the company did was not really thoroughly thought. So it's more like a copy paste of your frequently asked questions into now the bot, and you have some sort of interaction with the customer and the bot. However, it is not giving me the resolution that I am hoping for as a customer. So it is more waste time, and then I need to reach out back to the company, and I will do that now in a time that I know a person will be there. So if it's a 9 to 5, then I need to readjust also my day in order to call them or to actually chat with a person that can help me create my problem. So automation should reduce the effort and
Mhm.
not the empathy.
Got it, got it. So yeah, automation definitely improve the efficiency as well. But it is good to implement the automation on a right time, right direction. Otherwise, automation sometimes become problematic for the company. Uh, yeah, next question is more about the CX as a revenue driver. How does proactive service lead to measurable revenue growth?
Well, I think that companies sometimes they underestimate how much revenue is influenced by confidence and trust. Customers, they move faster when things feel clear, when they feel easy, when they feel predictable. And proactive service helps remove those small moments of hesitation that slow down decision making. In hospitality, for example, if a guest arrives
Mhm.
and the room is not ready, the situation itself is not really the biggest issue. I mean, of course, context is important here. If you are a guest that arrive at 11 p.m. and your room is not ready, then of course it's a big problem. But if you arrive at 3:30 in the afternoon and your room is not ready, that it's quite okay. What matters is what happens next. If nobody communicates clearly, if the guest starts feeling uncertain or more frustration will come, then everything will escalate quickly. But if the team follows up proactively and explains the situation and offers alternatives, that is very important when you are following up for in a problem. And simply just you can just make that guest feel seen. And then the emotional tone will change completely. The guest leaves with a different feeling, and that influences whether they return, whether they recommend the company, or they will spend more in future visits. I think it is when in this part it is when service becomes a revenue driver, and not because companies are directly selling something to a client, but it is more the momentum. That moment had more influence on that guest. Um, and it is because they are protecting trust. They are reducing effort and increasing that likelihood of retention and future spend. The same happens in other industries. I've been talking a lot about hospitality, but the same happens in other
Yeah, I
industries.
think everything is same. Like, the customer satisfaction, customer management, trust from the customer is all the same because we all are human beings. So every customer is looking into that, thinking on the direction of the satisfaction and all.
Exactly. We are all interchanging with our clients and we have our internal and external clients. So this easily happens in other industries. So if customer hesitate during any time in your customer journey, for whatever reason it is, a long waiting time for a problem, for a clarification, or you needed to repeat so many times the problem,
Mhm.
or many different follow-ups for the same problem, all of this will slow the decision-making process. And as a consequence, revenue gets delayed, and sometimes customers just leave entirely, and that is when your churn starts broadening up. So small friction repeated at scale becomes expensive very, very quickly.
Understand, because specifically in the hospitality industry, customer service is the number one. Customer satisfaction is the number one to key to maintain the credibility of the specific organization. Good. Next question is more about like what metrics should company track to prove the ROI of proactive six?
Yeah, as I was saying before, I think that measuring proactive service definitely becomes more important. If companies only look at support costs or
Mhm,
tickets, I believe they miss the bigger picture. The metrics should connect a customer behavior to
mhm,
business outcome. For example, repeat contact volume or time to resolution or customer retention, conversion speed, churn reduction, repeat bookings or repeat purchases. Specifically in hospitality, things like guest recovery or repeat stays,
Oh yeah,
they can tell you a lot about whether proactive service is working or not. One of the
got it.
biggest shifts that are actually happening right now in CX is that we are transitioning from measuring actively different aspects of a business to
Mhm,
measuring impact. So it's no longer about, okay, this is my customer satisfaction score, my NPS, and blah, 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 and let's put it in the nice dashboard all together. But it is how all of these products and how my proactive service is creating impact, and how with this, my ROI is increasing. So a high NPS doesn't automatically prove business value, but behavior does.
got it. So let's move into the last topic that is future of CX. What will customer service looks like in the next 5 years?
That's a very difficult question. I believe that it will be more embedded into the customer journey. It will be more predictable, less transactional. I mean, at least I hope it becomes less transactional. Many companies are using now chatbots, but
Mhm,
chatbots, they still sound robotic, they still sound scripted. And if we move to something that is less transactional and
mhm.
more personalized, that is where it is moving. Consumers expect that companies start recognizing context, not only the problem, but context as well, instantly, and reduce effort automatically.
That's great. That's great. So now we are reaching to the last question of this webinar. So what advice would you give to CX leaders trying to transform their service operations today?
Well, my advice would be, and this is based on my experience, but my advice would be not to start with what the rest is doing. I've seen companies that because okay, technology A is trending, so we should also do this. I will give you an example here in the Netherlands. So
Hmm.
when you have new parents, so they just have a baby and they want to put that baby in daycare, the process in the Netherlands is a little bit challenging because there is high demand for daycares. Therefore, there is no space for babies. So every time that a woman is pregnant, she is advised that if those parents later on are going to need daycare, that while the woman is pregnant, that they should already register their unborn baby into a
Yeah.
daycare. So that is
Correct.
how high the demand is. And I mean, and of course, I have a 2-year-old son, and that is why I went through this process and I registered, I think, to 10 different daycares, and one called me telling me that they have a spot. And I was very happy, obviously, with this. My son is 2 years old, so he's been already 2 years in that daycare. And recently, a few weeks ago, and this is why I bring this up and I emphasize and don't do what the rest are doing. I received a survey from the daycare, which I thought, oh, what a great way for them to collect some data. And I was very disappointed because the question that they chose to ask was an NPS question. Would you recommend this daycare to your friends and family? And I thought, no, but what a missed opportunity. They wanted to just write that NPS wave to say I have, and this is my NPS. And also they were using a trendy platform, so it's a quite expensive platform. And I thought, all of this effort that this company is putting, and they will not get the right answers. They are not going to get something that will help them in their business outcomes, but also that will personalize more the service. And I thought, how can I recommend a daycare in the Netherlands? You cannot recommend. You need to enlist yourself in so many waiting lists, and you have to hope for one to call you. So this was really a bad question to ask, only because the rest are also using NPS score. So the same goes to you. Don't
Hmm.
start with what the rest is doing. Start
Yeah.
with what I've been talking so many times, but start with friction. Identify
Friction. Yeah.
where customers hesitate, where teams
Correct.
compensate manually, and where effort accumulates. Then prioritize those problems that will generate both customer and business impact. And that is where momentum starts and you can continue.
Got it. That's a good insight, good overview, and thank you for giving all the answers of the question to you. So thank you so much for your kind answer. Now we have like 10 minutes. If anyone has any question, feel free to raise your hand so I will unmute you, or you can ask a question in the question and answer session where I can connect you directly with Andrea. So while people will going to giving an question, I have one question like, what are the shift first step to shift from reactive support to proactive engagement?
The steps to shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been talking a lot about friction, so don't be surprised that I mentioned friction again. But again, start with friction. Where do customers hesitate? Where do they stop with their purchase? Or where do questions appear all over again? Those patterns, they usually show where proactive service can have the
Mhm.
biggest impact. So start small. That would be the shift. Start small. Don't try to redesign your entire journey or your many different new experiences. Just solve one recurring friction point first and then measure impact. Know what are your top 3 friction moments? With that, more teams in the company will be aware and continue with the next one. I would say start small and then go big.
That's good. That's good. One second, we have a couple of questions from the audience. So one question is like, the question is, what are the biggest challenges company face when shifting from reactive support model to proactive revenue-focused service strategies?
I think one of the biggest challenges that a CX practitioner faces in a company is that you have to keep on repeating yourself to so many different departments, and you feel, okay, I thought we were all on this together, but to actually link those business outcomes with what department really needs is quite difficult to do, but keep on going and you are going to see that. I also feel that teams should also start thinking on continuous improvement. When a team starts asking, okay, what is the customer really trying to achieve? Or is this issue likely to repeat? Or what I find is the most important is, should this feedback influence another team? That is when you are thinking no longer as individual silos, so as individual little islands in the same company, but more as a full team together, working together for the same vision, the same objectives, and to keep the customer together. So when you realize that feedback that you are receiving on your contact center will influence other teams, and you share and you have now a different solution, that is when you also start seeing a ROI in your CX practices. You are reducing operational tasks, and you are also increasing customer experience.
Perfect, perfect. So, Andrea, thank you for this. So we are just wrapping up the webinar. So the key takeaway from this webinar is organization that treats CX as a strategic function can turn service interaction into the revenue opportunities. So instead of waiting for complaints, proactive engagement, solve problem early, improve trust, and strengthen long-term relationships. So in today's discussion, show that proactive service is not just about reducing complaints, it's about creating meaningful customer moments that drive loyalty, growth, and long-term value. So Andrea, thank you for being part of this webinar. And everyone, we will going to come up with more exciting session, more exciting subject for our upcoming expert speakers who will going to join us from the different part of the world. So let's stay tuned. And Andrea, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and thank you for everyone who logged into this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.